Welcome everybody to this training video. My name is Scott McMillan, project lead for the IHSS Benchmark Dashboard. In this video, I'm going to show you how to use Power Query within Microsoft Excel to convert your workplace violence category into a separate column. And that is because, as you probably know by now, the IHSS does not capture workplace violence as a category. It captures it as a separate data field in the data set, whereby the typology is attached to a violent category, like assault or aggravated assault or something to that effect. It's not treated as a category with the IHSS. So if your organization does document workplace violence typology, and you do it as a category within your incident reporting system, along with a corresponding violence category for the same report, then this video will help you to separate the two of them. So to get started, what you're seeing here is a sample data set that I've put together. And this data set conforms to the IHSS format, whereby each row represents a single incident category. We've got, of course, the facility name in the first column. We've got the report number, then the category, the date, time, the location, as well as police involved. So what is missing is that workplace violence column. And that's because, of course, it's a category within this data set. So we need to separate the two of them. And if we scroll down here, I've got a couple of rows that are highlighted in green, and that again is just to reiterate sort of what we're seeing in this data set, which would be similar to your data set if you're watching this video, whereby we've got, for example, the same report number repeated here, and with two separate categories. One being the violence category, in this case it happens to be aggression non-physical, and then the corresponding workplace violence typology. So what we need to do is we need to take this workplace violence typology, and we actually need it to be over here, beside it in a new column. And then we need to eliminate this row, because we no longer need it in that case, so that it doesn't get double counted. So how do we do that? The first step is we need to highlight our data. So we're going to do that. And then up top in the ribbon here, we're going to want to click on the one that says data. And then the left-hand side, we have these options. We want to select this one that kind of looks like a little table, and it says from table range. We're going to go ahead and click that. And it's just confirming the range that we've selected. We want to make sure that this checkbox is checked off because our data does have headers, and we'll hit OK. And that is now opening up the Power Query editor. And you can see that on the very top left in the white writing, it says editor. So the first thing that we're going to do is we need to actually make a duplicate of this exact data, or table it's referred to. So on the right hand side here where it says table 1, we're going to right click and we are going to hit duplicate. And then we're just going to rename this so that we can keep them consistent and we can distinguish between the two of them. So we're going to right click again, we're going to rename, and we're going to call this one WPV for workplace violence type. Enter. And then we're just going to click back into table 1. And now what we need to do is, we're going to go back to the workplace violence one, and we're going to filter out in the category column here everything except the workplace violence, because this table is going to be specific to the workplace violence type. So we're going to hit this little arrow here. It brings up all of the categories in the data set. We are going to unselect them all. So we're going to uncheck this box there. We are going to scroll down until we find our workplace violence types, which happen in the bottom because it's alphabetical. And we are now going to select just them and hit OK. So that's going to filter out everything except for the workplace violence types. Then we'll go back and just click on table 1. Now we've got two different tables. One is our original data, and the other one is our filtered data for workplace violence. Now we're actually going to merge these together and create a third table. So on the top, under the home, about 2/3 of the way to the right is this one called Manage Queries, Merge Queries. We're going to click that, and we're going to select the bottom one, Merge Queries as New. And we need to select the tables that we want to merge. So it's defaulting to table 1, and that's great. Now we need to select the other table from this dropdown, which is the workplace violence. Now we need to tell it on which column do we want to merge these together or join them together. And we want to do that on the report number. Because if you remember when we looked at the data set originally where I had those highlighted rows green, they shared one common thing, which is the report number. So we're going to select the report column from this one and the report column from this one. And we are going to hit OK. Now what that's done is it's created a third table, which has actually combined elements of the other two tables. And this is going to be our final data set that you're going to work from. So we're going to go ahead and right-click and rename it just to keep it clear. And we're going to call it Final Data. Now we have to do just two more steps. First off, we're going to scroll to the right, and we can see now that we have this new column called Workplace Violence Type. But it's applying to all of the categories, so we actually need to filter it, or it's actually technically called expand, because you might notice that the symbol here is a little bit different than these drop downs. But nonetheless, it kind of is a similar function in the sense that it gives us a list of, in this case, all of our columns. We want to deselect all of them, and we want to just select the incident category, because we only want to match the workplace violence on the incident category. And hit, and we're going to deselect that and hit OK. So now we've got this new column, and now we can see that it's essentially blank. Null typically is another word for blank. But then we see that we do have these workplace violence typologies here, which is great. That's the first step is completed. Now we are just going to click back up in here, double click, and we're just going to rename this WPV type. There we go. But we'll notice something when we look at these first typologies here. There's two of them. And if we scroll to the left, I'll just highlight this one so we don't lose track, we can see that it has both the original categories, both the violence category as well as the workplace violence category. But as we mentioned before, we don't want both of them, because now that we've created that new column to identify the workplace violence typology, we want to remove this row because it's now going to be double counting. So we are going to click on the filter, and we are going to remove all of the workplace violence ones. We want to filter them out. Click OK. And there we are. This here is now, if we scroll to the right, we see that it's got the typology attached to it, and it no longer has the corresponding row underneath. So that allows us to count these here, and allows us to count the category as well. So now that that's done, we can actually close and load this and run it, because the editor is just establishing the steps that we want to do to reformat our data. Now that we've finished those steps, we want it to actually load and do that to the original data. So up on the left here, we're going to click on Close and Load. And what it's done is it's actually created 3 new tables, which are each represented by their own tab down below, in addition to our original data, which is the test data tab. But we don't actually need these other 2 tables, because we just want the final data. This is what is now going to become our final master data set for this data that we're going to upload into the IHSS dashboard. So we have to do something to each of these other tables. We're going to click on it. We're going to right click. And there's an option here called Load To. We're going to click on that. It defaults to the table. So it's saying that right now this is its own table embedded within this worksheet. We want to click this option here, which is only create the connection. And we're going to click OK. And we're going to click Yep. And you can see that it removes the actual data, but it's still there in the background. It's still connected to this final data one, which is the one we want to keep. But we don't need it anymore as a separate table. And in fact, we can go ahead and delete this tab, because the more tabs we have in here with data in it, the more confusing it might be, especially when we have to upload the data. So we're just going to delete it. Okay. And now we're going to do the same thing to the other table that we don't really need, that was created as part of that process, which is the WPV type. So again, over here, we're going to right click, Load To, change it to only create the connection. So only keep the connection, don't create a separate table. Hit OK. Again, the data disappears, but it's still connected in the background, which is what's important. And then we're going to right click, and we are going to delete the actual. And we can close the query on the right hand side here. So now we've got essentially a cleaned up version of the worksheet. We've got two different tabs. One is our original data. So this is the one that, again, still has those two rows. And we have our now reformatted one that removes those workplace violence categories and instead has them underneath this new column, which is exactly how it needs to be for the IHSS. This point, we can save this file as our 2025 IHSS data, and we would be ready to now upload that into the benchmark dashboard and start the next steps in the process, which is to map our categories and our locations. So I hope that helped. You can see in just roughly 12 minutes how you can quite easily reformat your data if you capture workplace violence as a category. Now, I should point out this only works if the workplace violence category is accompanied by another actual violence category. If the workplace violence type is the only category in your report that indicates or represents violent incident, then this is not the video for you. Okay? So thank you very much for watching. On behalf of the IHSS, we very, very much appreciate your participation in the benchmarking dashboard. And if you have any further questions or concerns, please reach out to us. You can use the email dashboard@ihss.org, or feel free to reach out to me directly, and I'll be happy to help with any other questions that you might have. So thank you very much, and good luck.